All right, guys, we are on Matthew chapter 25, verses 1 through 30. Go ahead and give it a read and see what you get from it. Come back after the pause. So I don't want to spend too much time on verses 1 through 13 because it's kind of a lot of more of the same of what we learned just previously in chapter 24. It's basically, to summarize, because we don't know the day or the hour, we have to always be working and prepared for Christ's return, because he could come back at any moment. Now, some of you may not have had the chance yet to take part in weddings, but I've had the privilege of being part of the bridal party, being a groomsman or a best man in quite a few of my friends' weddings in the past year. And one thing that's been consistent in each and every one of those weddings is that time rules the day. There is always someone making sure that you're on time, and it would be absolutely unthinkable. It would be like the worst thing ever to be late to a wedding, or to cause an inconvenience, or to cause a problem for the bride and the groom. And Jesus says, as unthinkable as it is for anyone in the bridal party to be unprepared for their big day, it's even more foolish when there's people who are unprepared for his return. And so then, as we get into verses 14 through 30, Jesus teaches about what we should be doing until his return. And so he uses this parable of the servants and their talents. And so our English word talent is actually derived from this, but in biblical times, a talent was a way of either measuring a large sum of money, or it was a weight measurement for some precious materials, precious resources, gold or silver. And whether it was a measurement of money or a measurement of precious resources, it was a massive, massive sum of money. Scholars say that this would have been thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars worth of resources per talent. And so what it ultimately teaches here is that we too have talents. And our talents are both our natural gifts and our spiritual gifts that God gives us and expects us to use as a ministry of multiplication. And so through this passage, Jesus teaches that everyone is given talents, which are resources that they are to use for God's glory. And he also teaches that depending on what you believe about God, it'll determine how you use these talents. So what do I mean by this? Well, the first two servants, they knew their master well, and they knew that he would desire that they use the talents for his gain. And so that's exactly what they do. They take what is given and they multiply it into something greater. But the final servant, he didn't believe the same about his master. He believed that the master was a hard man, a shrewd man, perhaps distant and unloving. So he simply sits on the money. He does nothing with it. And so when we understand that God has given us gifts and talents because he loves us and because he desires that we work alongside of him as we build the kingdom, we'll be more apt to explore and to use the talents that God has given us. But if we believe that God is an angry and distant God, then perhaps we never use the talents that he's given us for his glory. So from this, I would urge you to consider, what gifts has God given you? There's natural gifts, there's these that we're just born with, that we're naturally talented with, and then there's also spiritual gifts that God blesses us with after we're saved, that he expects us to use for the building up of his kingdom. And so what would some of these be? Well, are you a good singer? Then sing for his glory. Are you gifted with care and compassion? Are you the type of person that can make anyone feel loved? Well, look for someone who's in need of gentle kindness and show them that care. Has he gifted you with excellent speech and the ability to share the gospel? Then evangelize. Tell others about him. Perhaps you can teach and you can break down really complex topics, and people tell you all the time that you're a great teacher and you simplify things so well. Then do that. Teach people about the Bible. All of this while knowing that you're doing it for his glory and to grow his kingdom. You as youth already have these gifts. You can already be working for his kingdom. This isn't something that you have to wait until you're grown up, so look for those now.